in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and this is a city with a population around 188,000, and it's rising like a lot of cities in Tennessee are. After 2020, Tennessee was one of the top states that people were moving to. And Chattanooga is one of the cities that is seeing an increase in their population because of that. It's 56% white, 27% black, 8% Hispanic, and 2% Asian. So it's a fairly diverse city. The average age is 37, and 21% of the population are seniors. So it's a slightly older population. Not really old, but slightly older. About one in every 5 people that live here are considered a senior citizen. And we're currently on Rossville Boulevard, for those of you who like that, crossing East 28th Street, if you want to see where we're at. Gas prices appear to be very cheap here in Tennessee compared to a lot of other places. So there's a 53% homeownership rate, which is 17% lower than the national average, but it's pretty good for a larger city. Anything, I consider literally anything that's over 50%, the city's doing pretty good, because a lot of these cities where you have just like 30% of the population that owns a home, the crime gets out of control because nobody really cares. I mean, they can just get up and move, next month and not care what the neighborhood looks like and move into a different area. And they're not stuck there like somebody that owned a home would be more tied to a place and have more of a stake in trying to make sure that it was a better city. The average income here is around $43,000 a year, which is actually pretty good for a city like this. It has a 17% poverty rate, which 17% might sound pretty high, but it's actually on the lower side for a larger city. A lot of them are in the low 20s. A lot of them are around 15 too, but a lot of them are around in the low 20s. So a poverty rate of 17, it's right in there. They have a 38% marriage rate, which would be considered really low. But for a city that has a decent crime rate, that's kind of about normal too. 56% of the people that live here were either born here or born in Tennessee. 7% are foreign born, and 5% are considered non-citizens. So that's showing that a lot of people, so only 56% were born in either Chattanooga or in Tennessee. So that's showing a lot of people, a fair amount of people are moving in to the city. And so far it's not too bad. There was a lot, when I first pulled in, there was some graffiti, there was quite a few homeless people, and that was right before I started filming. But other than that, it hasn't looked too bad so far as the telltale signs of a city that's got a higher crime rate. The murder rates since 2019 have been around 18.8, which that's getting up there. A murder rate around 10 is what I consider regular city bad, like a level of homicides that you'd expect in a city, or at least in an American city. 18.8 is pretty high. Chicago is right around 22 per 100,000 people every year. So it's not as bad as Chicago on a per capita basis, per 100,000 person basis, but 18.8 is pretty high. Chicago, I believe it was either 2019 or 2020, the murder rate in Chicago was around 18. So it's 18.8 is a pretty good size number for a city like this for a homicide rate. Their assault rates are 900 to 1,000. And Baltimore that's the same range of Baltimore. So if you want to know, get a basic idea of how to look at crime here in Chattanooga, the homicide rate is slightly better than Chicago, and the assault rates are the same as Baltimore, Maryland. That'll give you a gauge of what the crime is like here. And the theft rates are around the 4,000s yearly, and that's getting up there. That's pretty high. You know, something in around the 2,000s, it would be 2,000 per 100,000 people. 2,000 per 100,000 people. In around that, around 2,000 would be closer to the regular city bad, the stuff that you would just expect. So 4,000 is getting up there pretty high for the thefts. And the violent crime here as a whole is 208% higher than the national average. So in around the 100% worse, the 80, 90, 100% worse, that's about where I consider regular city bad. The amount of crime or the amount of violent crime you can expect to see in a city. So when you start getting over 200, you start getting into that iffier category. It is nowhere near a no-go. Like if your work brought you here, it's not something where I would say it's a no-go, like where you wouldn't want to move there, but you would definitely want to research any neighborhood you were thinking of moving to, especially if you're in city limits, and just make sure you're moving into a neighborhood that is a good neighborhood and not one where the crime is really bad on. And we're on Market Street right now, and we're crossing East 11th Street. For those that pay attention to that, you can see there's a lot of people just hanging out on the street with nothing to do. And that's another telltale sign that the crime is higher, because idle hands, they always say that thing, idle hands. But people that are just sitting around with nothing to do, they're, you know, they find things to do, and it's not always productive things or good things for the city. So the property crime here is 167% worse than the national average, and that's a little more, something you can deal with. It's getting close to that iffier category, but it's worse than regular city bad, but it's not anything, again, that you keep an eye on your stuff. It's worse than regular city bad, but it's not quite into that really iffy territory yet. Your odds of becoming a victim of a crime here are 1 in 16, which for a city with higher crime, that's, you're going to expect that. The really bad cities get down to 1 in 8, 1 in 9, 1 in 10. So this is slightly better than the really bad cities, 1 in 16. Again, it's not a number that you would be like, okay, that city's a no-go place, but it's definitely a place where you kind of just keep, pay attention to what's going on around you more than anything. But their year-over-year crime is showing a decrease of 12%. So it's showing that either the city just had a big spike after 2020 and 2021, like everybody had. All cities had that. And it either is showing that there was a spike and it just took a couple years for it to come down, or the city started doing something about it and they're bringing the crime numbers down. But it's kind of cute. It's, relatively clean. Aside from where I first pulled in, which must have been like a bad part of town, There hasn't been a whole ton of garbage or anything, stuff like that. It's been relatively clean, and it's kind of cute. You can see it's like, you know, it's just, there's a lot of people. There was homeless at the beginning, but you know, there's just a lot of people that are just hanging out. They're just sitting around hanging out on the streets, and that's not good. That's not good for any city, to have too many people just hanging out on the street corners and sitting on, you know, benches, not benches, but like. So the schools here will graduate, 30% of the students will graduate proficient at reading and math. So less than 1 out of every 3 students graduate at a 12th grade level for reading and math. The state of Tennessee is only 35%, so they're pretty much right at the same as the state average here. Excuse me, I had a sneeze. And the U.S. average is 48%. So in the United States, less than half of the kids graduate proficient at reading and math, at a 12th grade level for reading and math. And basically in Tennessee, and including Chattanooga, it's about 1 in every 3. So that's not good, and it's not a good sign for a city going forward if you're not graduating kids that are gonna go on to be, you know, productive members of society. If you're, you know, graduating kids and they're not learning anything, they're not going to be able to get a job. They're not going to be able to do the things that you need them to do to keep the city moving forward in a positive manner. But 83% of the people that live here completed the 8th grade. 81% have a high school diploma or equivalent. So I would like to say that that's a bad number, 81%, but this is America in the 2020s, and 81% of the population graduating high school is actually not bad. I wish I could say it was, but it's not. And they're showing that 28% of the people that live here have a bachelor's degree or higher. So that's like little over 1 out of every 4 people that live here have gone on to get higher education. I'm not somebody that pushes higher education. I don't think that makes you necessarily a better person. It makes you more educated. That's all it does. And that also just depends on what you're studying in college when you go to college. So I'm not saying, when I say 28%, that's a decent number for a city, especially one that's got a higher level of crime. But let's go this way. But so I'm not pushing, all right, we'll go this way. I'm not pushing the college thing and saying that makes the city any better or any worse. It's just that's how many people have gone on, you know, about 1 in every 4 people that live here have a bachelor's degree or higher. And that for a city is actually pretty good, because a lot of times it's nowhere near that. And every once in a while you'll come across a city that's, you know, got a higher educated, you know, population where that number's up close to 50%. That's rarer. But yeah, it's a cute city. It's really nice. It's relatively clean. The crime is a bit on the high side. But it's not too bad. I mean, you're looking at, like I said, the homicides are better than Chicago. The homicides are basically the same as Minneapolis. They're right around the same as Minneapolis, which I'm not saying Minneapolis is a good city, because it is not. So being compared to Minneapolis is not even any better, really, than being compared to Chicago. But the assault rates are high. The assault rates are the same as Baltimore. So if you can get past the crime numbers, and if you don't have kids in school, so you don't care about the 30% that are, you know, learning something. It's not a bad place to live. And I don't know where I got myself. I'm going to go up a little bit further, but this looks like we're just getting into industrial area now at this point. But it's really, the city looks nice. It was clean, so it shows the city at least cares, which a lot of cities nowadays, they don't bother to clean up the graffiti. They don't bother to pick up the litter, and they just let the people live in all that filth, and they don't do anything. But the city, at least as much as I saw of it, like I said, right on the outskirts, you saw the garbage, you saw the graffiti, and you saw all the homeless people. But so far in this, once I don't even know where I'm driving right now. Once I got into that, closer to the downtown area, then it was fine. So I don't even know where I'm at. I'm in some industrial area. I'm just going to make a U-turn right here. And I'm going to probably let this video just play out for another couple minutes. I'm going to U-turn out of here. And I hope you like this drive through Chattanooga. It's a city a lot of people are moving to. So, you know, like I said, do your research on what areas, if you have to move here or you want to move here, do your research on where you're going to. It's likely there's just a few bad areas that cause the majority of the crime, and most of the city is good because, like I said, on the outskirts, there was some bad stuff, but once I got closer to the downtown area and all that, it was clean. And, you know, again, the schools, though, if you got young kids, research the schools, make sure you're putting them in a school that actually does the work to get the kids learning something. Because I imagine some of them are good, but there's a lot in the whole state. The whole state, there's a lot of schools that just aren't teaching your kids anything. So do your research, but other than that, it looked like a decent city. Just giving it the, you know, with my eyes, it looked like it was a pretty decent city. So thanks for watching.